It was an unlikely encounter between two natural enemies when a lion approached a dog with a friendly face. What happened next was truly remarkable and left everyone in disbelief. The incredible bond that formed between these two animals is something that must be seen to be believed. So get ready to witness a heartwarming tale of unlikely friendship and loyalty that will melt your heart. Here we begin. It is uncommon for a dog to raise a lion cub in the wild or captivity, as the two species have different natural behaviors and instincts. However, there have been some rare cases where a domestic dog acted as a surrogate parent to a lion cub in captivity, usually in cases where the lion's mother could not care for her cubs or when the cubs were orphaned. One famous example of a dog raising a lion cub is the story of a dog named Leopard, who nursed and cared for a pair of lion cubs at a zoo in China. The cubs had been abandoned by their mother and were too weak to survive without help, so zookeepers placed them in the care of Leopard, who had just given birth to a litter of puppies. The dog accepted the lion cubs as her own and nursed them alongside her puppies, and the cubs thrived under her care. While a dog can raise a lion cub, it is not a natural or common occurrence and is generally not recommended as a long-term solution for the cub's care. Lions are wild animals and have different needs and instincts than domestic dogs. In most cases, a tiger cub should be raised by its mother, or, if that is not possible, by experienced wildlife caretakers who could provide appropriate care and training. The beginning of a beautiful journey. In 2003, two newborn lion cubs were brought to a zoo in Hefei, in eastern China's Anhui province. The male and female cubs had been abandoned by their mother and were in critical condition. They were weak, cold, and hungry, and whether they would survive was unclear. The cubs were given emergency care at the zoo and placed in a warm incubator. However, it was clear that they needed more than just basic medical attention. They needed a surrogate mother who could provide the warmth, nourishment, and emotional support that they would have received from their own mother. That's when the zookeepers had an idea. In the same compound where the lion cubs were being kept, a dog named Leopard had just given birth to a litter of puppies. Leopard was a mix of Shetland sheepdog and golden retriever, and she was known for her friendly and nurturing nature. So the zookeepers decided to introduce the lion cubs to Leopard, hoping she might accept them as her own. They placed the cubs in the same cage as the dog and her puppies and watched anxiously to see what would happen. To their relief, Leopard took to the cubs immediately. She sniffed, licked, and cuddled them as if they were her own puppies. The lion cubs, in turn, seemed to sense that Leopard was a source of comfort and warmth, and they snuggled up to her for protection. What were the general reactions? The zookeepers were amazed at what they saw. Finally, a dog, a member of a completely different species, was nursing and caring for two lion cubs as if they were her own. It was a remarkable example of interspecies nurturing and a testament to the power of maternal instincts. Leopard continued to care for the tiger cubs for several weeks, nursing them alongside her own puppies and keeping them warm and protected. As the cubs grew stronger, they became more and more independent, and eventually they were weaned off of Leopard's milk and moved to a separate enclosure. Leopard's story quickly became famous in China and around the world, and she became a symbol of the power of maternal love and the resilience of young animals. Although Leopard and the lion cubs were eventually separated, their bond left an indelible mark on the people who witnessed it, and their story continues to inspire animal lovers everywhere. Leopard's real name was Xiao Bei, which means little white in Chinese. She was a mixed-breed dog that belonged to the zookeeper in charge of the carnivore section of the Hefei Zoo. According to the zookeeper, Xiao Bei had a gentle and nurturing personality and was known for her ability to get along with other animals. The two lion cubs that Leopard cared for were a famous lion species. They were born on July 27, 2003, and were brought to the Hefei Zoo a few days after their mother abandoned them. They weighed less than 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds, each at the time, and were in critical condition. The initial reaction of both sides. When the lion cubs were first introduced to Xiao Bei, the zookeepers were nervous about how she would react. They had tried to introduce the cubs to other animals, including a female dog, but none of them had shown any interest in the cubs. However, when they placed the cubs in Xiao Bei's cage, she immediately took to them and started nursing them. Xiao Bei nursed the lion cubs alongside her puppies for about 2 months. The cubs thrived under her care and grew stronger every day. They learned to play and hunt and even started imitating Xiao Bei's behavior, such as barking and wagging their tails. The story of Xiao Bai and the lion cubs quickly spread throughout China and around the world, and they became media sensations. They were featured on television news programs and in newspapers, and people came from all over to see them at the Hefei Zoo. After the lion cubs were weaned off Xiao Bai's milk, they were moved to a separate enclosure at the zoo. They continued to grow and develop, and eventually they were released into the wild as part of a breeding program to help conserve the endangered Amur tiger species. Xiao Bai lived at the Hefei Zoo for several years after her time with the lion cubs. She became a beloved fixture at the zoo and was known to be friendly and affectionate with humans and other animals. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2008 at the age of 10. The story of Xiao Bai and the lion cubs has inspired numerous works of art and literature. It has been the subject of children's books, documentaries, and even a Chinese feature film called Leopard Loves Her Baby. It continues to be a beloved and heartwarming example of the power of maternal love and the resilience of young animals. He precautions and warns. While the story of the leopard and the lion cubs is heartwarming, it's important to note that there were potential dangers to the situation. Here are some of the risks and reasons why the lion cubs and leopard were eventually separated. Interspecies conflicts. Even though leopard accepted the lion cubs and cared for them as her own, there was still a risk of conflict between the two species. As the tiger cubs grew older and more aggressive, there was a chance that they could harm or even kill leopard. This could have resulted in serious injuries to the dog and the cubs. Disease transmission. Lions are wild animals that can carry a variety of diseases, some of which can be transmitted to dogs and other domestic animals. While the cubs were under close veterinary care at the zoo, there was still a risk that they could pass on an illness to leopard or her puppies. Psychological issues. While leopard was able to care for the lion cubs physically, there was a risk that she could become psychologically confused or distressed by the situation. Raising two lion cubs alongside her own puppies could have caused leopard to become anxious or stressed, negatively affecting her health and well-being. Separation from the natural environment. While the lion cubs could thrive under leopard's care, they were still wild animals that belonged in their natural habitat. Keeping them at the zoo, even the care of a surrogate mother, deprived them of the opportunity to learn and develop the skills they would need to survive in the wild. For these reasons, the lion cubs and leopards were eventually separated. The cubs were weaned off leopard's milk and moved to a separate enclosure at the zoo, where they could be raised with other lions and learn the skills they needed to survive in the wild. Leopard could resume her life as a dog and continue to live at the zoo, where she remained a beloved and well-cared-for animal. Comment below and subscribe for more.